Imagine that one day you are summoned before the government panel, even though you haven't committed any crime or chastisement. You are repeatedly questioned about your political views, accused of disloyalty, and asked to incriminate your friends and associates. If you don't cooperate, you risk jail while losing your job. This is exactly what happened in the United States in the 1915 as a part of a campaign to expose suspected communists. Named after its most notorious politician, the phenomenon known as Marxism destroyed thousands of lives and careers. For over a decade, American political leaders trampled democratic freedom in the name of protecting them. During the 1970s, there had been activist anti-communist party in the United States. Its record was mixed. Crucial roles played a practice struggles with labor and civil rights. It also supported unions with union. From the start, the American Communist Party faced attacks from conservative and business leaders as well as from liberals who criticized its ties. During World War II, in the USSR were allied against Hitler. Some American communists actually spied for the Russians. When the Cold War escalated and espionage became known, the most communists came to be seen as a threat to the national security. But the attempt to eliminate this threat sent interesting and most bad episode of political repression in American history. Students, bureaucrats, politicians, journalists, and businessmen, the campaign wildly exaggerated the danger of communist subversion. People behind the handhelds left of the center of political views or associated with who did. If you hung on your walls had multiracial sign petitions against nuclear weapons, might just be communist. Starting right in 1995, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover used the resources of his agency to hunt down such supposed communist influence within American society. And the narrow criteria Hoover is already used to screen federal employees, the universities, car manufacturers, and thousands of other public employees were imposing some filters in the men and women who worked for them. Meanwhile, Congress is on witch hunt and subpoenaing hundreds of people to testify before investigative bodies like the House Un-American Activities Committee. If they refused to cooperate, they could be jail, contempt, or more commonly, fired and blacklisted. Ambitious politicians like Richard Nixon, Joseph McCarthy used such hearings as a political weapon, accusing Democrats of being soft and communism and deliberately losing China communist bloc. McCarthy, a program senator from Wisconsin, became notorious by flaunting ever-changing lists alleged communists within the State Department. Egged on by other politicians, he continued to make outrageous accusations of disturbing fabricating evidence. Many citizens regarded McCarthy well as a president, and vindicated once became chair of the subcommittee, and in the 1990s, the McCarthy recognition increased. It was the his investigation of the army that finally found public diminished his power. McCarthy's colleagues instantly censored him. He died less than 3 years later, probably from alcoholism. McCarthy's ended as well. It had ruined if the drastically narrowed the American political spectrum. Its damaged democratic institutions will be long-lasting. On all likelihood, Republicans anti-communist pressures are deeply unjust, but the fear directly opposing him are clear. Even the Supreme Court failed to stop the witch hunt, condoning serious violations of constitutional rights and national security. Was the domestic communism an actual threat to the American government? Perhaps, though small, but the reaction to it is so extreme that cause far more damage than threat. And if demagogues appeared in uncertain times to attack unpopular minorities in the name of patriotism, could it all happen again? Why? Imagine you are watching a runaway trolley barreling down the street toward the 5 workers who can't escape. The driver of the trolley onto the second truck. Here's the problem. That truck has a worker on 2, but just 1. What do? Do you sacrifice 1 person to save 5? This is a trolley program, a version of escort drama that philosopher devised in 1960s. It's popular because it forces us to think how to choose the good choice to pick the best outcome. Stick to moral code, prohibited causing someone death. Amongst 90% respondents said it's okay to 1 worker dies to save 5. And others include virtual simulation of the drama, often similar result. Greatest number of people, the 5 lives, even if achieving that outcome requires condemning someone. But don't always do utilitarian view, which trolley program a bit. This time you're standing on a bridge of the truck, another 2 approaching. No second truck, but there is a very large man on the bridge next to you. If you push him, he'll stop trolley, saving the 5, but he'll die. So utilitarian decision is exactly the same. There's 1 5, but in this case only about 10% of people say that okay throw them onto the trucks. And that is different, allowing them to collateral damage. But I have to explain this intersection. What is right, wrong, depends on example, man and more likely even to say it's okay to push the man over the bridge. So watch a comedy clip before doing the third experiment. In virtual reality, a marine sacrificed man. Researchers studied brain activity seeking through the classic and bridge versions. Both scenarios activate but in the bridge version, it's much stronger. So it's active and associated with processing. Another explanation is that pushing someone to their death feels more personal, activating emotional version. to killing another person, but we feel conflicted because we know such choice. Theology has been criticized of some philosophers and psychologists. Doesn't reveal anything because its premise is unrealistic. The study participants don't take it seriously. But new technology is making this analysis more important than ever. For example, driverless cars may have to handle choices like causing small accidents to prevent a larger one. Meanwhile, governments are researching autonomous military drones, making decisions for whether there risk casualties to attack a high-value target. If we distinctly ask, we have to decide in advance how to value human life and judge greater good. Collaborating with philosophers to address complex problems into machines, which goes to show that even hypothetical dramas can wind up on a collision course with the real world. Children who are struggling in school in France, designed to determine which children required individualized attention. The method formed the basis of IQ tests. Beginning in the late 19th century, researchers hypothesized the cognitive ability like verbal listening, working memory, and visual spatial skill reflected underlying the general intelligence, or G factor. Simon Binet designed a battery test to measure each of these abilities and combine the result into a single score. Quotients for each group in the charts reflected how they performed to others. Dividing someone's score by their ages and multiplying result by 100 yielded the intelligence quotient, or IQ. Today, a score of 100 represents the average of a sample population, with 68% sample population scoring within 15 points of 100. Simon Binet said the skills assessed through general intelligence, but then and now There's no single agreement definitions, and that left the door open for people to use the test in service of their own preconceived assumptions about intelligence. Most data identified those who needed academic help regularly became used to sort people in another way, often in service deeply flawed. Large-scale implementation occurred in States during World War I. The military used IQ tests to sort recruits, screen them for officer training. At that time, many people believed in eugenics, the idea of desirable and undesirable genetic traits could insert in humans through the selective breeding. There are many problems with this line of thinking. Among them, the idea of intelligence not only fixed and inherited but also linked to a person's race. Under the influence of eugenics, scientists use the result of the military initiative to make erroneous claims that certain racial groups intellectually superior to others, without taking into account that recruits tested who were new immigrants in the United States who lacked formal education or English language exposure. They created an erroneous intelligence hierarchy of ethnic groups. The intersection of eugenics and IQ testing influenced not only science but policy as well. In 1924, the state of Eugenia created policy allowing for the sterility of people with low IQ score, a decision Supreme Court upheld. In Nazi Germany, the government authorized the murder of children based on low IQ. Following the Holocaust and civil rights movement, a discriminatory uses scientific grounds. Scientists began to evidence environmental impact on IQ. For example, as the IQ test periodically recalibrated over the 20th century, new generations scored consistently higher on all tests than each previous generation. This phenomenon, known as the fringe effect, happened much too fast because inherited evolutionary trait. Instead, the cause was likely environmental, improved education, better healthcare, and better nutrition. In the mid-20th century, psychologists also attempted to use the IQ test to evaluate things other than general intelligence, particularly schizophrenia, psychiatric conditions. This diagnosis relied in part on clinical judgment of the evaluate. The subset of the test used to determine IQ. A practice later had not held clinical use. Types of questions at the early test, though we have to better techniques identify potential bias. They are no longer used to diagnose a high psychiatric condition, but similarly probably usingこれめっちゃ高いんだよな。リーチ、イーペイコ、ピンフ、ドラ、チートイツもつくんだよな。で、リャンペイコ、 shocking, justified, horrific. Also, in fact, it does a good job of measuring reasoning, problem-solving skill. It's set out that isn't the same thing as measuring person's potential. Though there are many complicated political, historical, scientific, and cultural issues wrapped up IQ testing, more and more researchers agree on this point, and reject the notion that individuals can be categorized by a single numerical score. Speaking of questionable testing practice, should we get rid of standardized altogether? Actual measure. Learn more about infamous and oftenest workshop test is this video. Playing dice for the last thing. You agreed on that this roll. You roll 2 dice. The biggest number is 1, 2, or 3, or 4. Player 1 wins. If the biggest number is 5 or 6, player 2 wins. Let's try twice more. Here, player 1 wins. And here is player 2. So, do you wanna be? At first glance, it may seem like player 1 has the advantage, since if anyone is the highest, but actually player 2 has approximately 56% chance of winning each match. There are 36 possible combinations. This is exactly the same chance happening. Mathematicians call this equal problem. Now we can see why first glance wrong. Even though each player has 4 winning numbers and player only has 2, the chance of each number being greatest is not the same. There is only 1 in 36 chance that 1 is the highest number, but there is an 11/36 chance that 6 will be the highest. So if any of these combinations roll, and if these combinations are rolled, player 2 will win. Out of the 36 possible combinations, 16 give the victory to player 1, and 20 give player 2 to win. You could think about this way too. The only way player can win is if both dice show 3 or 4. 5 or 6 will win. The chance of one die showing 1, 2, 3, or 4 is 4 out of 6. The result of each die roll is independent of the other. Turn the probability independent event by multiply the probabilities. So the chance of getting 1, 2, 3, or 4 on both dice is 4 out of 6 times 4 out of 6, 16 out of 36. Because someone has to win, the chance of player to win is 36 out of 7 and 16, or 20. So that the exact same probability we got by making our table. But this doesn't mean player even that that's why the event right just rolling are called random. Even though you can't calculate the theoretical probability each outcome, you might not get expected result if it's just a few events. But if you repeat it, just the frequency specific outcome, like a theoretical probability, that body record writing down all the possibilities and counting up each outcome. Instead of playing dice forever, player 2 will eventually 56% of the game, and player 1 will win that 44%. By then, of course, long gone. And Russian delegation arrived to investigate conditions, and they executed Ochienda. 999 women children died after being poisoned by it. That grisly image has since been immortalized as shorthand slang for single-minded, cult-like thinking. They drank Kool-Aid. Today, there's thousands of cults around the world. It's important to know two things about them. First, not all cults are religious. Some are political, therapy-based, focused on self-improvement or otherwise. And on the flip side, not all the new religions what we're referring to as a cult. What exactly defines the modern understanding of cult? Why do people join them? Broadly speaking, a cult is a growth movement and shared commitment to usually extreme ideologies that typically embodied in charismatic leaders, and refused to turn deadly at Johnstown in Heaven's Gate, which ended mass suicides of 39 people in 1977. Most cults share some basic characteristics. A typical cult requires a high level of commitment from its members, and maintain a strict hierarchy, separating unsuspecting supporters recruits from working. restrictions around the required recipe for change new members into true believers. And most importantly, it uses both formal and informal systems influence and control to keep members obedient, with little tolerance for internal disagreement or external scrutiny. You might wonder that some of these descriptions might also apply to established religion. In fact, what cults originally described people who called on certain gods by performing rituals and maintaining temples. But in time, it came to mean excessive devotion. Many religions began as cults, integrated the fabric of the religious society as they grew. A modern cult, by contrast, separates its members from others, rather than providing guidelines for members to live life. A cult directly controls them from personally living arrangements. Cults demand obedience to human leaders, who tend to be highly persuasive people. It's certain narcissistic, motivated money, sex, power, or all three. Cult leader uses personal charisma, including new ones. Cults are skilled at knowing whom to target, often focusing on the neutral area, or whoever recently undergone some personal or professional role. Loneliness and desire from many make one susceptible to other people offering community. Recruitment process sometimes a relationship. In fact, more than 2/3 of cult members are recruited by friends, family members, or co-workers whose invitations are hard to refuse. Once in a cult, subject to multiple forms of indoctrination. Some prey on natural inclination, mimic social behaviors, or follow orders. Other methods may be more intense, using techniques of coercive persuasion, involving guilt, shame, and fear. And in many cases, members willingly submit out of desire, belong, and enter the world. The cult environment discourages critical thinking, making it everyone around you is modeling absolutely faith. The resulting internal conflict, known as cognitive dissonance, keeps you trapped as each compromise makes it painful to admit you've been deceived. And though most cults don't leave members, they can still be harmful by denying basic freedom. Speech and association cults stunt their members' psychological and emotional growth. A particular problem for children who are deprived of normal development is milestones. Nevertheless, many cult members eventually find a way out. Influence, or when they cut due to external pressure, scandals. Many cults may be hard to identify, and for some, believe, no matter how strange, are protected under religious freedom. But when the practices involve harassment, threat, illegal activities, or abuse, the law can intervene. Believing in something should not come at the cost of family and friends, And if someone feels you sacrifice your relationships or morality for the greater good, they're most likely exploiting you for their own. Imagine you're watching runaway trolley bearing the truck straight towards 5 workers who can't escape. You happen to be standing next to a switch. Trolley on control. Here's the problem. That truck has a worker on too, but just one. What do? You sacrifice one person to save 5? This is a trolley program, a version of the ethical drama that philosopher Philip Hood devised in 1967. It's popular because it forces us to think about how to choose. No good choices. Do we pick best outcome or stick to a moral code that prohibits causing someone death? In one survey of 90% of respondents said that it is normal to save 5. And other studies, including virtual reality simulation of the drama, have similar results. Consistent philosophical principles of utilitarianism, which argue the morally correct decision of the one that maximizes well-being greatest number of people. The 5 lives are weighed, even if achieving that outcome required condemning someone to death. Always take utilitarian view. Conceive judging trolley program a bit. This time you steam a bridge as a runaway trolley. It just feels wrong for reasons it has to explain. This intersection between ethics and psychology is interesting. The program, the drama, and many variations reveal that what we think like wrong depend on factors other than logical weighings approaching. To say it's okay push the man over the ridge. 違いだな。なんだろう。ビビったじゃねえか。Both scenarios activate areas conscious decision making, emotional response in the bridge version. The emotional response is much stronger. also its activity in the brain, associated with processing internal conflict. Why the difference? One explanation is that forcing someone to death is more personal, activating emotional aversion to killing another person. But we feel conflicted because we know it's a logical choice. Truly, allergies have been criticized by some philosophers and psychologists. They argue that anything, because it's premise unrealistic, that study participants don't take it seriously. But new technology is making this kind of ethical analysis more important than ever. For example, driverless car may have to handle choices causing small accidents to prevent a large one. Meanwhile, government researching autonomous military drones that can warn decisions over Earth casualties to attack a high-value target. If we want this action to be ethical, we have to decide in advance how to value human life and judge greater good. So researchers who study autonomous systems are collaborating philosophers to address the complex problem of programming ethics into machines. Each goes shows that even hypothetical dilemmas can wind up encouraging us of real world. Of course, it's very difficult for me. Even if Philocastaway as the strangest of Ireland playing dice for the last banana. Agreed on these rules. You're allowed to 1, 2, 3, or 4. Player 1 wins. If the biggest number is 5 or 6, player 2 wins. Let's try some more. Here player 1 wins. And here is player 2. So who do you wanna be? At first glance, it may seem like player 1 has the advantage if the anyone 4 numbers is the highest, but actually player 2 has a personal chance of winning each match. One of the possible combinations you can get by rolling 2 dice and then count up the one each player wins.